All right. Hello, you guys. Welcome back to the Two Best Friends Podcast.
Welcome back. Happy hump day.
It's hump day again as we're recording. I feel like that's just when we're going to record most episodes.
Yeah, it seems to be like Wednesdays our day.
Yeah, but when you guys are listening to this, happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Friday.
Yeah.
We are going to be chatting about an exciting topic today that Kylie and I were actually catching up on earlier today, which is that it's been a year since we've graduated college, essentially, I guess, but like a year since we like kind of changed our entire life.
Like almost to the day. It's so weird. Gina and I both like had our like big like college transition like a day apart.
Yeah, because we graduated in May.
Yeah.
It's July. Let's say the 10th. And so we had like 2 months off, like after graduating, we weren't doing like anything because we needed like a break. But then like our real life, our adult life started the second week of July. And we're here a year later now. We're like, holy cow.
We're not doing what we started with.
No, we're literally a complete 180.
Yeah.
We're like nowhere where we thought we would be. But that's why we're like, I think it's perfect for like our little 1 year anniversary to like go down and see how much has changed and like what we've learned also.
Yeah. I think like it's so like people always talk about like, oh, like you're just trying to figure things out after college, but like we both like ran into that like head on.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Gina and I like both we just like kind of hit the ground running with like we just went from like 0 to 100 in both completely different ways.
Yeah, because we put such high expectations on ourselves because I think like I've always said this, but like what society, what they tell you should do, that's kind of how we both are. It's like you graduate college, you get the job, and like you just start your life right away. You realize that's just not how it works.
And I think like you do a lot of things blindly, like you don't think too much about it, like the kind of like the how do I describe it? Like with you, it was like you just kind of went for it.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm gonna try it because like I think I got to that point where I was like, if it doesn't work, if I hate it, I can just leave because with college and stuff, you can't just quit college. Like you had to finish, get the degree, or it was like a waste of money and a waste of, you could, but it was just a waste of time and money at that point. So it's like when you go off into the real world and get a new job or whatever, like none of that is permanent. You can leave, you can change, you can pivot. And I think that's kind of what we went into it with, having that mindset was like, we're going to do whatever we're going to start off this next chapter of our life doing. And if it fails, who cares?
Yeah. And I think like that like was the big thing with me and Gina was like we tried it. We were very excited.
Yeah.
Like we'll get into like all of like kind of how 1 year like we've had time to like process and like work through like the things that we did do at first and like really kind of pick through like what went wrong / like why we knew it wasn't for us, like how we got back to this position.
Yeah, like how we got here.
How did we get here?
For real.
Yeah. But I think like we both just have different perspectives because we both like went off in different ways. Like and like it's just interesting like the feelings that come up with that.
And like we said in the last episode too, where it's like we were doing the same thing our whole life.
Yeah, it's really easy in college. Like you don't even think about it. Like which I personally like Gina and I are we're big routine girlies. Yeah. So like I miss that.
I know.
But also like it's fun to like be in the real world an adult because like if something doesn't work out then you can like quickly like switch and be like, okay, this wasn't for me, but like I'm gonna try this instead.
Yeah, and we're huge planners too, so when things weren't before graduating college, when things were going as planned, we would freak out. We're like, oh no, this is not good, what are we gonna do? Whereas like now things literally never go to plan.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think anything that like I planned for my life to look like to this point.
But like that's like a running thing with me. Like going back to high school. Because like I thought I was going to go to Tulane for 4 years and get my degree in public health and be a PA and go to PA school.
That's true. You went through a lot of changes.
Where like that is so far in the opposite direction of where I am like right now. But like I feel like obviously everything happens for a reason and like God's plan is better and like you just kind of like you just shift and it's like it's interesting to see like what it actually is meant for you through trial and error. Like that's what it is trial and error and like trying to figure things out as you go. And like thankfully like we hope this episode, if you're going through that, like helps you just realize like you're not alone and there's nothing wrong with you if you're not where you want to be in life. Like I think that's a big thing for me is like comparing my life to other people and be like, oh, like this person has their dream job, or like this person's in their dream state, or they have like their own house, or like they're married, or like this, that, or the other thing. And it's like, if you're not where you want to be yet, like just find like beauty in the process of like growing and coming into that person, because you really can't compare like your life's timing with anybody else's.
No.
And like I saw this like really this like it was like it wasn't a meme on Instagram, but it was like this like written out thing.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I'm sure you've seen it before. I've shared it many times on my story, but it was like California is like 3 hours behind New York, and like Chicago, like all these places, but it's like that doesn't mean like California's behind.
Right.
They're just
a good point.
on a different like clock.
It's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, that's what I tell myself sometimes, because it's like truly like I get in my head so much because I'm like, oh, like I'm not doing this like good enough, or like I'm not where I thought I would be when I was like 19 years old starting college, or even like a year ago, honestly.
Yeah.
But it's like you really just have to, and I'm glad we have each other for that.
Yeah.
Because it's nice to find like somebody that can relate on those things and just make you feel a little bit more at peace.
Right.
With, like,
and when we were graduating like that, I think when I signed we'll get into this, but when I signed like my acceptance to my job, I think it was in April, which was like a month before graduating. And I remember that whole month I was looking on Spotify like for podcasts to hear what is the life after college, because there's there's nothing to look forward to in the sense of like a book that tells you how it's going to go, because it's different for everyone. And I was so lost in that. I was like, I need something to follow. Like, what am I supposed to expect? Like, the unknown kills me.
Yeah.
And that's what it was after graduating, was like, I don't know if I'm going to like this job. I don't know if I'm going to like the people I'm around. I don't know if I'm going to make friends. I don't know if I'm going to make money. Like, all the unknowns is what was eating me up alive. And then you just have to like throw yourself into things. And we'll talk about just like falling on your ass and failing and figuring out what to do next, because that is what's going to happen so many more times when you are growing up. And especially the first year out of college, I just feel like some people either have really great experiences the first year out, or they have like,
I feel like you're on either way, like you're on one end or the other with it. Like it either worked out perfect and you're thriving, or like you are.
And you should never feel ashamed if it didn't work out, because it happens to so many. And I think when you're 23, I mean, everyone always makes this joke, but like when you're 23, you see some people are having babies.
It's a really weird time in life.
Getting houses. Like so many people are on different wavelengths, and it helps kind of to like not make you feel too bad when you see like maybe they don't have it all figured out either, and that's okay.
And I think like social media is really hard because like people post their achievements like very openly, as they should. Like you should celebrate yourself and your wins, and like, you know, the updates on like LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever, like people are like, oh, I'm starting this job, or like, oh my gosh, I just got engaged, or like this and that. And it's like, you should show that off. Like that's huge. Like, go girl. Like, you know, you're doing amazing. Like, we're cheering you on. But it's also like, I'm the type of person with social media. Gina's not like this, but I am like, I compare myself a lot, which is very, very toxic. It's like, oh, like, you know, this person is doing this, or like is in this cool place, or has this job. I think I was getting into this a little bit before, but I just like, I think about it a little too much of like, oh, I should be doing that, or like I should have that by now. Right. And it's like, not everybody is like linear. Like I know my path wasn't linear, but like social media is like a big contributor in that, is like seeing what people are doing. Like you have a firsthand experience, but with that, people show, obviously, as we all know, like their best moments. And just because somebody has like everything seemingly put together doesn't mean
never that.
Right. Doesn't mean that they really do like in their mental. Because obviously we know that that's like the most important thing.
Like so funny, like this is like kind of random, but like with influencers, like you'll see they have so much money. They do so much. Like they have all the fancy things, but like half of them are in debt. Like you don't know. You don't know that people are going through. They might be like fighting with their boyfriend, yet online they look like they're put together. Yeah. And it's so hard as an outsider to watch it, because you're like, oh my gosh, I wish that was me, or I wish I had that. And you can't catch yourself in that, even though I know it's so easy to. You have to find a way to, like, for me, I just look at it and I'm like, you know, I wish I had that too, but it's motivation at the end of the day.
See, she uses it as motivation. Yeah. I like let it consume, which is really, really bad. Okay, so with that, I guess we'll just get into like our year anniversary of like both of our different ventures.
What we've been doing this past year. Let's go down.
What we're meaning when we say it didn't work out. Yeah. So I guess like Gina, we could start with you.
Okay.
Talk a little bit about your, like, what's been going on with you / like what you started with and where
Since
you are now.
graduating?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have always done, just like background about me, I've always done online coaching, which is just fitness coaching, personal training, but online, right? I've always done social media. I've done it since 2020. But with graduating college, again, like I chatted about, like the societal standards, like I always let society and what the normal thing to do dictate what I do with my life because I always feel like I have to. So I graduated college and I was like, I think I want to like try something new. I was kind of getting burnt out with what I was currently doing with like running my own business, doing online fitness coaching. I was like, maybe I want to go into the corporate field. And I've always been a business girly, like since high school. I always wanted to go into business. So I was like, maybe this is just what I'm supposed to do. Like, that's what I kept saying. I was like, I'm supposed to get a business job after college. I'm graduating with a business degree. I have to go get a corporate 9 to 5. And so I did that. I searched and I was like, fuck, I don't know what I want to do, but I guess I'll go into sales because that was like a lot of my past experience with my other like part-time jobs. So I was like, okay, I could just do that. So I obviously signed to work with this company in April, a month before graduating, and I wasn't supposed to start until July. So I had a lot of time to think about it, and I have a lot of tips and advice on that. So then I accepted that. I started, my first day was actually supposed to be tomorrow, a year ago. I started and I was working downtown because I had to downtown Chicago. I had to commute down there to go into the office for training. And I worked that job for 3 months. And I was like absolutely miserable. I hated it after the third day. I think the first day when you're, commuting on the train, I'm all dressed up cute. I'm walking downtown. I'm like, oh my God.
You feel like you have it together.
Yeah, I'm serving bad bitch energy. Like I'm making all this money. And it lasted for 2 seconds. That energy lasted for 2 seconds. So I was like, I'm gonna just push it out for like 6 months. I'm gonna just grind it out and deal with it. Just hit that 6-month mark. And at that 3-month mark, I was like, I was so miserable. I was crying all the time. I was tired 24/7. I wasn't passionate with what I was doing. And in the back of my mind, I kept thinking about like what I could be doing because of what I did before, like the opportunities that I was handed beforehand. And then I was just like burnt out from them. So at that point, after 3 months of working the sales job, I was like, I'm fucking done. Like I couldn't do it any longer. And it sounds like, wow, you only can make it 3 months. Like I was so scared to quit my job because I was like, everyone's going to think I'm a quitter. Like I couldn't just deal with it and do the typical 9 to 5 life. But at the end of the day, like you have to do what's best for you. And I was, someone gave me a good opportunity to go back to online fitness coaching. And I was like, why wouldn't I take this opportunity now when I'm young and able to kind of make those changes? Because I think when you're 23, you don't really have too much to lose just yet because you're so young and you're just starting to get started with the world. So I was like, if I'm going to make a change with my career and maybe it will fail in a month, I'm going to do it now when I can afford that failure. I mean, you can always afford a failure down the road too. But I think at that moment, I was like, I think I can really take this risk.
You were still living at home.
Yeah.
And like, with the guys, like I knew something was wrong when like Gina was texting me that she was having like mental breakdowns. Like,
everybody knew.
She was like describing like what I kind of talked about before when I went to my first college in New Orleans. Like I was like, I would have like panic attacks and like I know what that feels like. And when she was describing that, I was like, okay.
I would wake up every morning with my heart racing. If you're waking up with your heart racing, you need to figure it out.
I came home in October from where I was to in part be here for your birthday and then also just to like come home and like be home for a little bit.
Yeah.
And like it was like right when she had like pulled out of her previous job, the corporate job. And like I could just like tell, and I think we talked about it in the car because Gina was like, it's a really rare thing. People don't understand until they're in that position. And I was like, I could literally see myself like in you. Like going through that. Cause I was like, that happened every single day.
Ugh, it's terrible.
Hard, like people around you are just like, it's not that bad. Like just tough it out for like 6 months. But like 6 months.
It's a lot.
In a place where you are
3
miserable.
months is a lot.
I did 3 months.
Yeah.
Like I get it. I'm just saying
they're like, and honestly, this is my advice to people. It's like, honestly, 4 weeks is enough for you to know.
I think that with everything meaningful in life, within the first 10 minutes if it's meant for you.
You don't have to push it, wait it out. You'll know.
Yeah.
And so I don't know who told me this, or maybe I just came to this conclusion myself. I was like, I already know what's going to change in another 3 months.
Yeah.
It's like I could be doing something different and having a better life right now for myself if I make this decision. And it was also ultimately better for the company too, because I just felt like I was doing them a disservice also. So
we're too old to waste this time.
Exactly.
If this isn't meant for you, then switch.
Right.
Literally, who cares?
Yeah.
It's not that deep, first of all. And other people's opinions, does not matter.
Well, right.
They're not waking up and walking in your shoes every day. You have to live with your choices.
And that's what I was thinking about too, was oh my God, what is everyone going to think about me at this office? She just started, she just got into this thing. I can't believe that. That's what I was thinking about. And it was giving me so much anxiety. Mm-hmm. That was giving me anxiety. Going to work every day was giving me anxiety. And I was like, why am I doing this to myself? There's no reason to do that.
Also too young to be burnt out in a career.
Exactly.
You should not be that. You should not feel that way at 23 years old, fresh out of college, with your with your patience still intact and your drive to want to do good in the company.
Exactly.
When you're 50 and you're God, I'm so sick of this. I've been here for 30 years. It's okay. We understand maybe you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's you're 23.
I shouldn't feel that way.
You should not feel that way.
I should like what I'm doing. I should feel good with my decisions, and I just didn't. And I think I am forever grateful for making that decision, even if it was impulsive, maybe a little stupid at the moment. It worked out. And now I am happy with what I'm doing. I've been doing it for, gosh, now it's been almost 11 months or 10 months. I've been doing it, which is also kind of crazy. So it's just do my advice to that when it comes to career changes is just fucking do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said earlier, nothing's permanent. And that helped me a lot with making that decision. Cause I'm okay, I didn't like it. It's, it was temporary. It served its purpose. Mm-hmm. I think I learned lessons from it, because you learn lessons from literally everything. Yeah. So I learned what I needed to learn, and I met people, and I was that's all I needed to do. That was it for that time, mm-hmm. that time in my life. And that's what it was. So that's kind of what I went through right after graduating. And honestly, that's just kind of what I'm up to now. I don't love corporate. I hope I don't ever have to go back to that. I could rant about corporate for days. I'm that annoying Gen Zer that rants about the work culture and the hustle culture.
Society makes you feel corporate is the only way. People look at you crazy when you're if you say I don't, corporate's not for me, or I don't want to do a 9 to 5, which I feel is very common mm-hmm. in our generation now. Yeah. But people hear that and they're well, what are you going to do? You can't just not go to, you can't.
And they think you're not a hard worker if you don't want to do a 9 to 5.
It's dude, we are just not built like that.
No,
and also when the passion of what you're doing is not there, you can't do it.
Exactly.
You just can't.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't be frowned upon by anybody.
No.
And honestly, anybody's opinion is really not warranted, even, because it's maybe it works for you.
Yeah.
But it's not working for me. And
and that's okay.
Why do you have to why does it matter?
Yeah, and that's the hardest thing that I have to also think about is not caring what people think about me.
Yeah.
And the decisions that I make, because again, I'm happier that I did that.
And I think that's honestly changing careers when you graduate, I think is more common than staying at your job for never moving. And I've heard not to do that. I've heard to move around a little.
Because I worked for a recruiting company, so obviously helping people get jobs, and they always say they don't look at resumes that have so many jobs, but it's so normal, and I think they're changing their mindset towards that now because they know that, one, to get more money, you need to get a new job. That's just how it works.
I also feel it contributes to your experience, your skill set.
And it's okay, what my boss at the time said, he was it's okay if this isn't what you want to do. It's mm-hmm. okay if this was just a test to see if it's what you like. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that really stuck with me. It's it's okay, this wasn't the right fit. There's other things out there for me.
Yeah.
And however long it takes you to get there.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, there's something out there for everybody. Yeah. I do believe that. I really do. And it's how are you supposed to figure that out if you stay at a job that you're miserable at and you're not excelling in any way? You're not fulfilled. For me, I can't live a life where I'm not fulfilled.
Right.
What is the point of life?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm I have a weird opinion on that, but it's how can you do a job where you're, okay, let me backtrack a little bit, because I feel bad saying that, because I know there's a lot of people who are Well, it's just work, and, like, I can come home and it's, like, my cup is still filled normal, and, like, that's fine. Everything's, like, very, like, specific to the person, but for me, like, I want, like, work to fulfill me. Like, I wanna wake up every day and wanna go to work. My parents raised me and my sister that way of, like, you should, because okay, I'm like all over the place right now, but it's like my advice is like you should wake up and you should want to go to work.
Yeah.
Not saying that that is maybe your dream job, but you should not be miserable in that job.
No.
Because like my dad like literally hates his job. Like
Yeah.
he hates it. And
Well, I see my mom who works like 1,000 hours a week. I'm like, I'm not about that.
No. And he's like, and like as a parent, you want more for your kids because you went through that situation before and you're like, I don't want that for you. So it's like, get a job that makes you happy enough to wake up and want to go to work. Again, you don't have to be ecstatic.
No.
You don't have to be like, oh my God, I can't wait to go to work today. But at least you're not like dragging your feet through the mud, being like, oh my God, like another day at this desk and like another day like picking up
because
phones and like
you don't have to because there's so many options out there.
Right, like we live in America.
Yeah,
Like you
like
can do anything you want.
different things you can do. You can start your own business if you want to.
Yeah.
You can do the sales job. You can do retail. Like I see so many people our age who do have a degree and they choose to go serve. They choose to go because it makes more money than these 9 to 5s. But besides the point. But like maybe that's just what they thoroughly enjoy. They like being around people and being on the go.
Who cares?
Right.
Like I literally like if you're like honestly like to me it's like I give like congratulations like to people who are just like doing things, trying to figure it out and like trying.
Yeah.
Like you're out there like maybe it's not your job for the rest of your life, but like you're still like giving it your best effort and like dabbling around to see like what works for you.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like what we're supposed to be doing at this age.
Exactly.
Like we're 23. I think sometimes we forget, me and Gina forget we're 23 years old. Like we are not 35. We're not 56 years old. Like we're 23.
You're not supposed to have it figured out.
And I think that's like the main message here we're trying to get across is like you don't need to have it all figured out. And we both thought we did.
Yeah.
Like
we thought
a year ago we did think that.
We thought that's where we were supposed to be a year ago.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like I said, every season of life is meant in your life for a reason. Like that's meant to be there for a reason. I truly believe that.
It is.
And it serves its purpose for then.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean, like I keep saying, it's like you can change your life whenever you want. If you really want to, you can. You just have to get out of this mindset that everything has to be perfect and you have to tiptoe around people. Like you have to try really hard to get out of that mindset because once you do, your life just gets better. Mm-hmm. When you start living for you at the end of the day.
And people aren't always going to agree with your choices. No. I've had to learn that too. Like you can, like you make your choices, but people around you aren't going to agree with those choices or like make you feel like they fully understand or support that, but you have to be confident enough in your decision to move forward with yourself. Because at the end of the day, like I said, like you're walking in your shoes every single day. Yeah. Like your parents aren't walking in your shoes. Your best friend's not walking in your shoes. Like your boss isn't walking in your shoes. Like you are the one that's responsible for yourself. Mm-hmm. If you don't like it, get up and go. Yeah. Nobody's holding a gun to your head being like, you need to stay at this, in this place or whatever. Like just, I know it's like hard.
In the moment we get that it's hard.
And I think like one thing for me that I've learned over time is like, I personally feel as though it takes more courage to get up and leave when everyone's kind of telling you to stay than it does to just tough out something you can't stand. Yeah. Because anybody can like deal with something. Yeah. But to me, it's like, life is too short.
That's another really big part that
life is too
started
short.
Thinking about too when I made that decision.
And like, you have to trust yourself as an adult to make choices that are like going to serve you. Like, because like that's the beautiful thing about your 20s, I think, is you can change as many times as you want as long as you keep going. Yeah. Like no one said like you can't change what you want to do or like change the people you hang out with. And that goes for everything. It's not even just jobs, but like you can change as many times as you want as long as you don't like stop. Yeah. And you just keep trying to like get better and better and like kind of just like follow where life takes you and like just like let things sort of play out the way that they're meant to because they always will. Yeah. But, like, just, like, to keep going and not let people, like...
And just being a little selfish.
I think a little selfishness is needed.
And, like, for us, we are very selfless. Mm-hmm. Like, we care a lot. You can tell what people think. So, like, that's just, I feel like this past year is just being a little bit more selfish that we really have been trying to do.
I've been thinking about that, like, a lot lately because, like, at the end of the day, like, because I think when you have like real things to take into consideration with like making decisions, it's like at the end of the day, like it's your livelihood. Yeah. So you do need to be a little bit selfish, and not in a bad way, but just like if it takes you a little bit longer to decide something, so be it. If you are upsetting somebody else in the process that has nothing to do with your life, so be it.
Yeah.
If people around you are like, what are you doing? It's like, okay, well, just trust me. Like, I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
But it's like, you do need to be a little bit selfish because it's your quality of life. And like I said, I keep going back to this point, but it's like, you are your own person. You have to like do things yourself and make choices yourself and just like trust your instinct.
Yep.
If your gut's telling you like this is not meant for me, get up and go.
And that takes a while to like learn. I mean, I'm still learning.
But I think we all need to have that like pivotal moment in your life where you realize what that looks like and when to step back. Because I had that personally. I had that at Tulane.
Yeah.
You had that at your corporate job. Yeah. And I think like the universe makes us go through situations like that. So you know when you ever get that like inkling of that feeling again to like get out of it. Yeah. Like just run. Like don't. There's no point to be there any longer. Once you know like your tolerance or like your limit of like, oh, I'm like sliding down the slope again. Like I promised myself when I left Tulane, like if I ever feel this again, I'm getting out. Like because I know where it's going to lead me.
And also if that happens a couple times, that's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah. Like
but at least you know the feeling and you know like when to like because like you hear those stories of people are like, oh, I spent like 4 years in this job and I was so miserable. And it's like,
so why would you waste 4 of those years?
Exactly.
And I get like, we're not trying to say like, don't work, don't make money. Like we understand that is a need and you have to work and you need money, but you can find other ways. Like I've always heard people, I've said this when I quit my corporate job, I was like, I choose happiness over money.
As you like, okay, never mind. Because I'm going to get hate for saying that. No, I already have, but it's like,
that's a hard thing for people to swallow in today's.
It is.
Because I get it. I get it. The economy, like we need money. Everyone's broke. I understand the need for money and you can have that drive and be money driven, but like, when it's too much where it's consuming you and your mind and your happiness, like, is it worth it?
No. And I think like you can like, to me, like I personally believe like everything exists on a spectrum. Like if we're sitting here telling you guys like we believe that like happiness should go first on the priority list and then like maybe finances after, it's not saying that we don't value finances. Right. It's just that we take happiness into like livelihood into consideration. If we're not, we weigh it out. Like, okay, you might be making X amount in this job, but you're miserable. Yeah. Is that worth it? Or is it worth to kind of step back a second and get maybe paid a little bit less, but to be happy going to work? Yeah. I'm going to choose that option.
Yeah. And that might be controversial, but like.
I think it is though, because like I've already gotten like.
I know. And I get that. I do. I get both sides of it. But I think you can have a happy medium. I think you can truly find a good balance between the two.
You absolutely can. And again, like going back to this point again, but we're 23. I think it's okay for us to do that.
We're so young.
Yeah.
Like we should want to live our life. I mean, our parents were working part-time jobs at this point and they were like living their life up. Yeah. And again, times are different, but like, why can't we have a little bit of that?
Right.
We should be able to.
We should be able to. And like, again, it's not for anybody to decide but you.
No.
And like, if you know when something's like not for you.
If you want to work your ass off and work 60-hour weeks and like just make a shit ton of money,
go off.
Do it. Because that's what you want to do.
Right.
That's what's making you happy and fulfilling you. Yep. Maybe you're tired, but like at the end of the day, you're still fulfilled by getting that paycheck.
Yeah. And I think we need people in this life that are like that.
Yeah.
We need somebody from like each like mindset.
But then it's also okay if you want to work 4 days a week at like a flower shop.
I think that's like the beautiful thing about like your 20s. And I just think like Gina and I are very like understanding, supportive people. Mm-hmm. I could never imagine like bashing someone for just trying to figure it out or like not like I feel like as a parent I'm just gonna be like
I will say though, like when we're younger, like how we used to be, like we had way more expectations about the future, and I think we maybe placed a little bit more judgment back then.
Absolutely.
And now that we're in it, now that we're actually experiencing that time, we're like, why did we think that? Like, who cares what people do?
I just saw something on Instagram the other day that like really like opened my eyes, because I think like as human beings, like we're very quick to make judgments about people because that's just like who we are. Mm-hmm. And it was like the thing was saying like everyone's so quick to like add their like input on things until like they're the ones like going through the experience, and then they end up like doing the same thing that you're doing.
Yeah,
something along those lines. So basically, like, don't be so quick to like judge the way that they like either make decisions or like what they're doing in life until you're in that position yourself.
So true.
And then you are, like, doing the same thing that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's really easy to be like, oh, like, what the hell? Like, what is she doing? Like, I would never do that. And then it's like you end up in that position and you're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So I think, like, just being, like, courteous of people, like, just trying.
And that comes with maturity. I mean, again, we were making those judgments at, like, 19 when we were just seniors in high school and didn't know any better.
Well, yeah, because, again, that's what society makes you feel like. And again, when you have parents that just go straight from college, like, my mom has been teaching for, God.
Yeah.
How long? Like, I don't even know. But it's like she's never changed her career. So, like, when she, like, had never had to go through that stuff. My dad has changed his career, like, 5 or 6 times. So it's like everybody's different.
Yeah.
And, like, there's no, like, one size fits all with, like.
Well, that's the biggest thing. There's no right or wrong way.
Yeah.
It's just whatever feels good for you and what's gonna ultimately make you happy at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I truly, truly believe that. So I want to ask Kylie about her year.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we both had pivotal years. So I just want to walk through, like, what you experienced over this past year.
Yeah. So, like Gina, last July, like we said, like, literally a day apart. So a year ago yesterday, moved across the country. And it was great. Like, honestly, like, I loved my time there. Like, I told Gina, like, I mean, it was a little hard for me at first. I'm not going to lie. I got there and I kind of freaked out because.
Had a little experience, though, with, like, moving before.
Yes, because of my experience in college the first time. Like, naturally, I just, like, freaked out.
Yeah.
Like, because what am I going to do? I'm an emotional girlie. Like, that's just what happens. We're just
we all do.
But, like, so I had that little period of time where I was, like, freaking out. I kind of moved there without too much of a plan.
Just crazy.
Which is wild. Which is very unlike me.
Out of the norm.
Very not spontaneous, but, like, in a way. There wasn't much planning that went into it, which is, like, really unlike me.
Which is scary.
It is very scary. But, like, I did it anyway.
Yeah.
So I got there, and it was, like, really hard for me at first. I spent, like, 3 weeks. I think I definitely FaceTimed you a couple times. I was like, Gina,
yeah.
Like,
what am I doing?
Like,
where am I?
Like, what am I doing? And after I kind of spent some time, like, figuring things out, I finally got into a routine. I loved, like, what I was doing every day. And then I spent, like, the rest of my time there, like, in that routine, doing what I was doing, and I, like, really did love it. I am somebody that loves, like, a jam-packed schedule. I know that's, like, crazy. But I thrive when I'm like, I have no time to breathe.
Yeah.
Because I think I spent, like, so many of my high school and college years like that, like, my post-grad, like.
That's what just you thought you had
that's
to
all
do.
I know. Yeah. So it's like, I
do.
enjoy it. Like, I mean, I barely had any time to, like, breathe. I mean, got up at 4:30.
She was a 4:30 girly.
Got up at 4:30 to go to the gym. And then, like,
day was done.
I would be at work at, like, 6:45. And then I would get off at, like, 2:30 most days. And then I would, like, go home, and at the time I was doing my health coaching certification and getting that squared away. So I was doing that for a couple hours. I had a call a couple times a week, which was like a 2-hour phone call. So now we're at like 4:30.
Yeah.
And then I would take a second to breathe and then hang out with
whoever.
Yeah. And then I would literally make dinner and
do it all over again.
And then, like, spend, like, an hour of, like, time by myself. And then at the end, actually, before I moved home, I was going to the gym after work as well to, like, walk on the treadmill because I would do, like, my certification work at the gym instead of in the house.
Yeah.
Just to get some extra steps in.
You were going to the gym, like, in the morning and after?
Yeah, I was going twice a day. Yeah. Which I know sounds crazy. Like,
but it wasn't like she was doing 2 workouts.
I was healthy. It was not unhealthy.
No,
I was
walking.
Weightlifting in the morning and then walking on the treadmill after. So, like,
it's
just getting the steps. I had a very, like, what's the word? Non-sedentary job. Yeah. I was training people all day long. So, like, I was on my feet and then I would go home and just, like, to keep moving.
Yeah.
I, like, loved being out of the house. I loved, like, just being, like.
Just, like, doing stuff. Like, you were in a new place. Like, of course you want to be out and about.
Yeah, filling my days. And then, like, the weekends were fun. Like, you know, we'd do whatever. I mean.
And how was it, like, you're in a new city, like, how was it, like, making friends and, like, getting to know new people? Because I know that's so incredibly hard.
It definitely is, especially for, like, an introvert. Like, I would consider myself not an extreme introvert, but definitely, like, an introvert. I don't think I'm an extrovert whatsoever. So, like, as an introvert, like, going to a new city can be very, like, daunting and scary.
Yeah.
And I think at first it is until like, again, like if you can find a job where people are like-minded and like you can be surrounded by people who have similar interests as you. I know that's like probably very common advice, but it's like really, really helpful. Like I met some really awesome people at my job. And like it just made it a lot easier to like acclimate.
Yeah, and when you meet people from work too, I feel like it can help you meet other people too, because they've been there a little bit longer than you maybe, so it helps a little bit.
The people that I was working with like were really cool, and it like that helped a lot. And then you of course like get close with the clients because you're with them all the time.
Yeah.
And then of course like I did move there with like knowing some people in the area before I actually got there, so that helped a lot too. So like go like visit if, over the years of visiting, I would get to know a couple people there, which was like really nice to have too. I don't know like what I would have done without that at first, because it was like I needed something else.
And it's like, we definitely can't give advice on like going to a new city completely alone. Yeah. Because I've never done it. She's never really truly done that.
No, yeah. I definitely I moved by myself, but I was with somebody else. So it's not like I was like completely in a new apartment by myself. Like, no, I was like I was living with someone.
And you knew people that like already lived there, and that helps a lot with like really, getting familiar with the area.
Like that's like huge, I think. So that helped a lot. And then like I just obviously I'm here now. Things didn't work out, which like again, like that's life. Like you do things, you try things. I think like the biggest thing for me that I like get sometimes like frustrated on is like people think like you trying new things and them not working out is like you quitting.
No.
Which is really like
that's what I said, like same thing.
You're not quitting, it's just like a pivot, because I think like when you quit, you don't try.
Right.
And like both of us like I know I tried really hard.
Right, like it wasn't like I'm quitting, I hate this, or like I hate this job so much, I'm quitting right away. No, it's like I said, okay, I hate this, maybe I'll like try to see if this will help me like it a little bit more. It's like I'm gonna try this out, maybe this will make my time a little bit more enjoyable.
You do what you do to fix, or what you can do to like fix whatever it is you're going through, and do what you need to do to like make it work. And then at some point you just realize like
nothing you can do,
this just isn't for me, and like that's okay. And like I think there's like everything is beautiful in its time. Like that's what I kind of sort of like not live by it, but I do think about that quote a lot, because it's like really truly like everything is beautiful in its time. And then like you just grow out of things and you're like, this is like not meant for me anymore, and that's okay. And like I think like at the very least it's just like you don't see it as like a negative thing. It's just another experience that you got to have, and like new people you got to meet, and like you're in a new place, and like one day you can tell your kids like,
I did this, or I went there.
Can you believe I did that?
Yeah.
Like, can you believe that? And that was your life.
And like I said earlier, it's like you learned a lot from that experience.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like that was supposed to happen.
That was supposed to happen.
Even if it didn't work out, it was meant to happen. And you got to learn and take something away from it.
Yeah, because you learn like every experience in life allows you to learn new things. And I think like that's the beauty of trial and error. Because if you never did those things, you would never learn certain things that you allow you to be a better person moving forward. So now like I have different skills that allow me to realize like, okay, in this situation, if I ever get into a situation like that again, I know like what point I reach where I'm like, this isn't worth it. Or like just in general, like your skill set changes like with experience. And I think like that's the biggest thing, is just like giving yourself that experience. Because like it's so cliche, but it's like, how will you know if you never try? Yep. And then you realize like that wasn't for me. But like look at all the things that I took away from that that allow me to be the person that I am like moving forward. And you wouldn't be able to reach your full potential if you don't go through those experiences that shape your personality and just like who you are and your outlook on life. Like I just think it's such a beautiful thing to like try, and like even if it doesn't work out, like literally who cares? And like nobody cares that much about your life. Like spectators, like nobody cares that much about your life.
I know. I have to tell myself that constantly.
Well, let's at least like one of us is like that.
Yeah.
Because like I don't know.
But I think like I've been like maturing a lot in that sense. Like I used to be so, I mean, it's why I went into like a sales job, is like I always had money anxiety. I always felt like I had to have a lot of jobs and make all this money because I was afraid to be broke. Like it's just like what's been ingrained in me since I was a kid. So I think having like the corporate job, it's not working out, I really changed my mindset with money and with like having to be perfect. And that's taken a long time. But I think ultimately like it's helped me like be a lot more chill and not worry so much. Like if I lose my job, I lose my job. And if
Mm-hmm.
I need to make a career change, I'll make a career change. It's like, I know there's something else out there for me. If it's not like right away, it will happen eventually.
Yeah. But I think that's just like trusting the process of life. Like I said, like earlier in the episode, like everybody's path is not linear.
Mm-hmm.
And like someone might have their dream job now, but like their life might be completely drastically different in 5 years, and you might be starting your life in 5 years. Like you might
Exactly.
People get married at all different times. People get their dream job at all different times. I mean, I've like run into so many people over the years of people saying like, oh, I started off as like a nurse, for example, and now I'm like a lawyer. And it's like, how did that come to be? But they're like, I'm so happy now. And it's like, they're 32 years old when they go back to school. Not saying you have to go back to school, but it just goes to show like career changes are like, honestly, I think they're necessary.
Yeah, I do
like,
too.
Society puts so much pressure on you to go to college and know what you want to do with the rest of your life at 18, which is mind-boggling.
You have to choose your major.
You have to literally just like guess and be like, I think this is what I'm passionate about and going to be passionate about for the rest of my life. No. So I'm going to get a degree in kinesiology. But it's like,
that's not guaranteed.
Right. It's like, well, what if in 5 years I literally hate it? Like, you know what I mean? So it's like,
I mean, think about how much you changed within a year. Think about how much you changed since you were 19. Who can expect you to truly like and be passionate about the same thing?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, passions can change all the time.
The passions can change. And I think it's like, especially in today's world, the industry's changed so much, like from day to day. And you're like, this is not what I was expecting. And again, I think like the best way to judge whether or not you like it is to try it.
Yes.
And like, you can't really guess when you're like, even when you're like 22, like walking across the stage getting your degree, it's like, okay, I have my degree. I've known a lot of people to go to like, let's say like PT school or something, their doctorate, and be like, I'm never going to use this a day in my life. And it's like, you know, like, so just like, you just never know. Mm-hmm. And the best way to just know is to try. And if you like fail, I don't even look at it as a failure. I look at it as like a redirection. Like, you're never failing. You're just like changing directions. And people that tell you you're failing is like, just like, again, it's like not necessary. Mm-hmm. It's like, just, if you're not here to be supportive, then like,
Please leave.
I don't need you.
You can exit the room. We don't need that energy, because
like,
we're working hard on not being hard on ourselves. Yeah. That's enough for us to try to deal with.
Right.
We don't need other people to.
I'm like, you guys don't understand. Like, I put so much pressure on myself. I don't need it from somebody else. Exactly. Like, trust me, like, what you're going to tell me, like, I there's no way I don't know already myself. Yeah. So it's like, I don't need to hear it from you too. Yeah. But like, I think like, that's just like, again, when you have people in your life that care about you, they're going to ask questions. They're going to be like, sometimes a little, you know. Yeah.
And I think like, kind of like over all of that is just understanding and accepting that every day will be different for the rest of your life, unless again you do work like a traditional job that is pretty routine and you have your routine down and it feels good and you like it. But like, again, even if you do have that, your life could be different the next day. And I think it's just accepting that. And I think that's what actually, like, realizing that has helped me a lot with not being so anxious about the future, which seems backwards, but it's helped me a lot to be like, I don't know what tomorrow holds. I could have this job that I'm working right now tomorrow, or I could not. And what am I going to do then? Like, it is what it is. I'll go figure it out. And I think that's helped a lot with my mindset towards money and jobs and everything. It's just letting life take me where it's supposed to take me and trusting the process as much as it's like up and down and you don't know where you're going to be in a week from now. That's kind of like the beauty of it too. I think having just like whatever is going to be thrown your way and you're going to roll with it, and however it works, it works. I think that's just how I'm kind of approaching the next, like, however, the rest of my life. The next 5 years. The next of my days. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, how else can you kind of approach
that's all you can do.
The rest of your 20s.
I mean,
we're going to have more of these days.
Oh, many. Many more. But, like, I mean, that's just how it goes. And, like, that's just part of being an adult. And unfortunately, like, college does not prepare you for that.
Yeah.
But
it doesn't. So, I don't know. Do you have any, like, pieces of advice or anything else, like, off of that, like, to give people in terms of if they're, like, either going through, like, a big change right now, maybe something that you wish you heard or something that you did hear that really helped?
Yeah, I think for me, and this really, I mean, I don't know if it only applies to people pleasers, but I think, like, I put so much weight on what other people think of me. my biggest advice, if you're kind of contemplating like in a position where it's like maybe like you're getting that like gut feeling of like this isn't really for me, or like I don't feel like my potential is being like maximized in this position, my advice to you would just be like trust your gut and just do it.
Always listen to your gut.
Literally, like just do it. Like I know it's like really hard, but like you will feel better like removing yourself from a situation than like sticking something out that's like not
Serving you.
meant for you. I think for me, like a lot of the big decisions I've made in my life, I was always nervous that like, for example, my parents or like my closest friends and family would be like, what are you doing? Like what? Like, and you never have to explain yourself to anybody. And I think that's like one thing that I've learned over time too, is like, you don't have to like, nobody's going to just really fully understand what you're going through.
Yeah.
Unless they're you
Yeah.
and they're not you. So like, you don't owe anybody an explanation. If it's not making you happy, like just get up and go. And like, honestly, like that's one thing I've had to learn is like, it's really hard to make those big decisions that people might look and be like, I don't really get what she's doing. Like what is happening? Like she shouldn't be doing that. But it's like, if you feel that way, like life's too short, just like you'll figure it out. You always will figure it out. That's the one beautiful thing with life is like you're meant to shift. And like no matter how many times you shift, like something has to click. That's just how life works.
Yeah.
Eventually something will work out for you. But like life is too short to stay somewhere you're not happy. So my biggest advice would just be like to go for it. And like whether that's like conquering your fears and applying to a job you're nervous to apply for, or quitting a job. Like again, quitting. Changing directions, like just to kind of follow your gut and make that hard choice. Whatever's holding you back, just trust yourself and just like do it.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, my biggest advice to people when they are graduating college, because I know a lot of people are in that phase right now, it's like just do it all. Honestly, throw yourself in to something that you think that you might hate. Throw yourself into something that is very different for you. Like I said, I did do something that was very different for me that I was scared to do, but I think it helped a lot for me to grow and to also get out of those unhealthy mindsets of thinking that I had to hustle 24/7 and work that nonstop grind life and be so obsessed with money. Like I think that I went into that life for a little bit. It helped me realize that's not what I want. So it's like they always say to, to get comfortable, get uncomfortable, like throw yourself in those situations and see if it works. Maybe you'll thrive in it. Maybe you'll love it. But like we keep saying, you won't know unless you do it. And in terms of like going and moving across the country or moving to a new city, it's like, I wish I was more impulsive in that fact. Like, I wish I could just pick up and go. So, if you are someone that is that way, do it. You can always go home.
Yeah.
Like, that also will help.
No,
like,
literally.
And that's the biggest thing. Like, when I was working this job, I was like, I could quit. Like, I could leave. And same with you. It's like, you can always go home.
Yeah.
And I think that helps a lot. Like, having that mindset. And hopefully, you do have that ability to be able to go home, because if you do, just have that in the back of your head. Like, if all goes to shit.
Because I think people put so much pressure on themselves to like, that their decisions are going to be like permanent decisions of like, if I decide to do this, I'm stuck in this. It's like, you're never stuck in anything. Like, and thankfully I have like, a really good support system in my life that like has allowed me to realize that throughout my trials and tribulations. But like, truly, like, you are never stuck anywhere.
Yeah.
And like, whether it's a job you hate or like a new city that didn't work out or like a relationship or like literally anything in life, like you're never stuck in that position.
Yeah.
And like, again, I said, like, I think support system is like everything. Cause like,
I don't want to say it so like willy-nilly like that. It is a luxury that we are able to do what we did, like moving home, me quitting my job. Like, I always like to preface that because I don't want people to hear this and be like, of course they can do that. Like, I could never do that. But it's something that I just want you to have in the back of your head at all times. Like, have that want to make yourself happy. Like, try to have a little bit of will to be selfish. If you're able, like, you'll ultimately like be able to make more money and have a better life because you're doing things that are serving you. So it's the better decision.
Yeah.
If you're able to do it, of course. I just wanted to say that because I don't want us to be like, tell these bitches to go touch grass or something. Like, I just had to say it because I get it's a luxury, but everyone can do it. You just have to do it the right way, and also just make goals and set your mind to it, and you'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think sometimes too, and I think like there's a pressure to like sometimes people think like, oh my God, like you don't have a plan, like what is going on? Like you don't have a plan. It's like it's okay to not have a plan. It's okay to just literally walk through life and like figure it out every day. I mean, the opportunities that come when you're not expecting it, or the people you meet when you're not expecting to meet them, it's like you will be sent what is meant for you.
Yeah, just let life
do its thing. That's what I like to say. Yeah. Just like literally sit there and allow what is meant for you to find you. If it's meant for you, it's always going to find you. And if it's not, then like you won't have it.
Yeah.
And that's like, that gives me peace and comfort, because it's like, oh, I didn't get the job. Like, wasn't meant for me. Yeah. Or like, oh, like this didn't work out. Like, wasn't meant for me. Yeah. But like truly, like just to find comfort and peace too. I think like, again, this sounds so cliche. I feel weird even saying this, but like to find peace in like uncertainty and just be okay with that. Yeah. Because I think like me and Gina are such planners that like when we don't know what's going on, we're in like a spiral. We're like, oh my God, like, you know, what is happening? Like you go crazy. But it's like just be okay with not having it all figured out. Like it will eventually work itself out. Yeah. And you will eventually like get more than you ever dreamed of and hoped for.
Yeah. I think that's a really good way to end that topic.
Wrap it up. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what else. I feel like we really said it all and how we're feeling after our year.
I just think it's crazy. Like when you do have like for example, for our like 1 year anniversary. Yeah. Like it does bring back like emotions, and it does bring back like feelings of like, oh my God, like this time last year I was like either like I was so hopeful or so excited or like so optimistic. Like and like now you look back and you're like, oh my God, like I can't believe I'm here. Yeah. But it's like you're here for a reason, and like things happen for a reason, and like
there's so much better to come.
The best days are yet to come. That's my favorite quote.
Yes, let me tell you.
Also, see the good in all. Oh. Like even when life seems to be not great, there's always
gives you lemons. Make lemonade.
Damn right, sister.
I had to throw a dad joke in there or some shit.
Of course.
Just to break the seriousness up, because life isn't that serious.
Life is never that deep. Yeah. Like I've had multiple people be like, Kylie, like life, like it's not that deep.
And we need to hear that. That's who needs her and I. That's who really needs to hear it.
No, literally, like I spent like I would say until I was like 22-ish.
This podcast is for you guys, but it's also for us. We're gonna listen back and be like, okay, we need to shut the fuck up.
I know, like
stop
look
stressing.
At yourself in the mirror and follow your advice. Like, oh my God.
Exactly.
But like, no, seriously, life is never that deep.
No.
And like, just like literally find something.
Keep trying.
Yeah, just keep trying. Just like as long as you keep going, like, because life doesn't stop.
Keep doing you, boo.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And who cares what anybody has to say?
Yeah.
We're in our like little
easier said than done, but truly,
like we should follow our own advice.
We're trying.
I always tell people things. I'm like,
oh my God, I'm the best at giving advice, but I can't fucking take it.
You don't follow it.
No.
Yeah.
It's really
literally, I say things to people. I'm like, Kylie, like, what are you saying? Yeah. Like, you literally don't do that. Like, what?
I'm like, oh, Kai, don't compare yourself. Over here, worrying about everyone.
I know.
It's just who I am.
It's tough, but again,
we're all a constant work in progress. I saw KK Fit's repost of that, and I put it on my story too. And it was like, you can still love yourself if you're a work in progress. Yeah, it's like, amen.
Also, let me just add this in there, because I saw another thing on Instagram, and it was like, you are the best project you'll ever work on. So like, don't stop working on yourself.
Love that so much. Yeah, because damn right.
Because like we get so caught up trying to fix like other people's things and like be other people's people, and it's like, be your own person. Like, be there for yourself. Like, don't put your own, like, growth on the back burner for anybody. Like, you, like, I just love that. Like,
it's
you are
people's biggest regrets when you see those interviews of these older people. They're like, I wish I did this, or I wish I would have, like, done that. It's like, you don't want to live with regret. I mean, everyone's going to have bits of regret, but you can do what you can do to limit the amount.
Absolutely.
So just, like, live your life to the fullest, and fuck, I don't know, we're getting down like a fucking quote rabbit hole here.
We really are. We really are. This really took a turn, huh?
You gotta cut us off here. I'm gonna start.
Someone take the mic.
Yeah. I have nothing else to say.
I think that we really exhausted everything.
Yeah.
We hope that you guys took something from this, if anything.
Because we talk about this with like everyone, and I feel like everyone who's 23 is also having these conversations.
Gina and I have this like recurring conversation at least once a week. I'm not even kidding. Like
so
literally with like everything in life. So like we just thought like how fitting is it, especially like today.
Yes.
Because like we realized like, oh my God, like
how
the 1 year anniversary again, like from graduating college and also like from making those big moves.
Yeah.
And like we're just like living proof that like it doesn't work out and we're still here.
Yeah.
We're
keeping our heads up high and we're figuring it the fuck out day by day.
Just like what we said this podcast was for.
In your early 20s, trying to figure it the fuck out.
Absolutely. I think we say cheers to that, sister.
Yeah. Thank you guys again for tuning in to the Two Best Friends podcast.
And with that, I guess we'll cheers.
Cheers. And we'll talk to you guys next time.